It's always interesting when you don't put everything in the right spot. Hi, everyone. How are we doing? How are we doing today? Today is an interesting day as we go to day six of AFCON, and we had some very interesting results, guys. If you are new here, we try to do recaps every day. We've been doing short video recaps. We want to do a live again. We said we'd be back here today. It'll just be me here today, unless some friends stop by. We'll see what happens. But we're here to talk about what we have seen, what we have learned, guys. Drop your comments on the games you saw today, and we'll go from there. So today, again, talking day 6 of AFCON, we had Nigeria versus Cote d'Ivoire. We had Equatorial Guinea versus Guinea-Bissau. We had Ghana versus Egypt. We'll try to talk about those 3 games, guys, in the comments. What impressed you? How are the teams now faring? We saw Nigeria victorious, Equatorial Guinea very dominant in their win. The big story from the Egypt-Ghana game was Salah being injured. I do wonder now, what does that say for Egypt's chances, as well as did Ghana show enough to gain confidence from their fans, from their supporters? We'll go into that as we move through. And so we want to just continue to watch over that as we go through. So, guys, let me know how we're feeling, what we are seeing, as the comments bar says, which team has surprised you so far, and we'll move through that, guys. So let's just jump right into this and start talking about these results that we had today. So today's results, I think, interesting to look at. We had the first game of the game, Nigeria over Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire, 1-0. Trusty Kong with the penalty in the 55th minute after Victor Osimhen wins the penalty in the 53rd after some VAR going. And honestly, I mean, JD didn't mention this yesterday in our live, and I'll just echo it again. The changes that were made by them. I had Ivory Coast winning this game. Again, you saw the fans. I was seeing videos of the fans coming into the stadium. It looked like a great atmosphere. It sounded like a great atmosphere. Ultimately, though, the one mistake that Cote d'Ivoire gave the opportunity to Nigeria. Nigeria was able to capitalize on that one chance. Jason, good to see you as well. Drew Ross, good to see you guys as well. But it was very interesting to kind of see how Nigeria was able to they put away their chance. And that's what it ultimately came down to here. Nigeria, though, had a lot of good chances. I think it's fair to say that Victor Osimhen is not having the best tournament, but his presence is still at least causing trouble for teams. I mean, he's had some good opportunities versus Cote d'Ivoire, which he missed earlier in the first half. However, the game goes into the second half. Then you get the penalty that's brought in. And then Cote d'Ivoire are just chasing the game from there. I think bringing in Ibasi was a very good move. I don't know why they didn't do it in the first game, as Jay didn't mention. And it does open the group up a little bit more, interestingly enough, especially for the top 3 spots. But Nigeria, ultimately, had a solid game as well. Nigeria, ultimately, they get the victory. They get the 3 points, which now leaves them in a very interesting spot, sitting in second in their group. Guys, let me know in the comments what impressed you in that Nigeria Ivory Coast game. They sit second in their group. Ivory Coast, the host, sitting in third because they got that win. And we'll get to Equatorial Guinea and Guinea-Bissau in a little bit. But overall, a good showing for those teams. Nigeria, in my opinion, played well enough, and they got the result. I still think they're lacking. At some point, the goals are going to come. I think they all come against Guinea-Bissau. I think that's where maybe they get that 3-0 comfortable win or that 4-1 comfortable win. Ultimately, I think that is something where they need to, because I think they're missing that win that gives people that confidence in them. Ultimately, you see the build-up. You see the balls going into Osimhen. You see Musa playing well. You see Lookman having his chances and opportunities. But I think Bossy was good. And we go through. But guys, let me know what you thought about this. Let's go through some of these comments that we're in 5 minutes into this video. JD, good for you to stop by. Appreciate the love and support. Drew Ross, again, thank you for being here. And then Jason, bringing it up here again. You have Nigeria's defense impressed me. I think they played a good defensive game, especially they played a good road game, right? Defensively solid, took away a lot of chances. They dropped back into their 5 in the back, 6 in the back at times just to be safe. I think that was the right strategy here. You didn't want to give too much to the home crowd and then have that energy really transfer through. So I think they played a good road game because they were the road team here. And effectively, Still gave some opportunities and chances, but I think they did a good job to limit those chances as the game went on, and that ultimately was a good move for them. So I think for how they walked into this game, their best result was probably that 1-0 victory, and they were able to get it. So I think it was a good overall showing from them, and I think that bodes well to them as they get ready for their last game versus Guinea-Bissau moving forward. So I think that does open the door, and I'm very much excited to see what they do. Again, I think they still need one more solid game, a goal scoring outing where maybe that gets off the fans, then the fans and their supporters and people who are watching them and say, okay, this is the Nigeria that we are used to. This is the Nigeria that we are accustomed to seeing. So, guys, thank you again. Corey, MPA, good to see you again. Appreciate the love and the support with everything there. So, just want to take a quick minute here as we look at what was happening here. I just want to appreciate the game. So I think for Nigeria, like I said again, the one problem for me I have is they weren't able to. They're creating chances everywhere, but I don't see them converting them. And maybe they just need one game to see the ball go into the net multiple times. That may be what they need. But I think ultimately, it's their lack of converting their chances. They're creating chances, but the problem for me is they aren't always converting them. And against these smaller sides, and not to say that these are smaller sides, but against in the group stage, you can get away with it. You don't do this in the elimination rounds. That's the difference between coming in or leaving. So I think ultimately that is something that they really need to keep in mind as they move forward with that. I think another point to bring up that JD does bring up here. Max, thanks for thinking. They had way more chances than the Ivory Coast, which is 5. Poor decision making in the final third, and I think that is a bit of a problem. As we're looking at the Google stats here, guys. So again, I'm letting you know now. We're looking at the Google stats. Here we go: 14 shots to 11, 3 shots on target to 1 for Cote d'Ivoire, 65 to 35 in terms of possession for Cote d'Ivoire. More passes for Cote d'Ivoire, more accuracy, less fouls. But for all these shots and a much poor passing ability, I think that does speak a little bit to what we were seeing and how the game was moving forward. And I think that is a bit of the concern. Nigeria, for the talent that they have on paper, I feel should have maybe got more. Again, I came into this game thinking they were going to lose this game because I thought the home crowd for Cote d'Ivoire would have pushed them through. I think ultimately, if they're able to fix some of this up, I think they'll have the opportunity against Guinea-Bissau. If they can do that, that opens the door for them. And I'll keep on saying, I think that's the game where everything starts to really elevate themselves and makes Nigeria feel a little bit more confident moving into the next round. Sebastian, good to see you here. Appreciate you stopping by, guys. If you are new to the channel, we do primarily African and Canadian content. So leave a like, subscribe if you like that type of content, and let us know in the comments. Make sure you let us know what you thought about the 3 games we saw today moving forward. Another thing, the right wing outlets was the problem. Lookman looked way better, defense and offense. I think it's good. Lookman needed this game because I think against Equatorial Guinea, we definitely saw some of the problems, which is we saw here again, which is the balls going in between Lookman and Musa. You saw a lot of wing play, but then not enough feeding towards Osimhen. And then in this game, you saw some feeding towards Osimhen, but ultimately you didn't see as much of the of the end product and the end result. And I think that's Nigeria's problem. They can create chances, whether they're large chances or small ones, they can create them. Ultimately, can they put away their chances and score? And that's going to be the difference. Opportunities will be fewer as you move on. So if you can show that you're proficient in getting those goals, moving the needle, and getting the results, putting games away. When we get to the next game, Equatorial Guinea, you saw them put that game away once that second half came in. It was a very impressive display. But the problem now becomes if you play better teams who will fight back, will bite back, can you do it? Again, I felt Nigeria played a very solid defensive game, especially a good, solid road game, played defensively well, took advantage of their chances, and were able to convert the one major chance, which was a penalty. So that was good for them. But now they're going into that next matchup against Equatorial Guinea, and it'll be interesting to see how it looks for them moving forward. When we get to game number 2 of the day, we have Equatorial Guinea versus Guinea-Bissau, and what a First of all, shout out to the old ballers out there. Sue coming in with a hat trick today. Guinea-Bissau falling to Equatorial Guinea 4-2. You had 3 goals from Nsue in the 21st, 51st, and 61st minute. Josette gets the 46th minute goal, and then you have the Esteban own goal for Guinea-Bissau, and then Zay Turbo in the 93rd minute of additional time. So that game ends in 4-2. And Equatorial Guinea are crashing the party right now. They sit at the top of the group, and it makes this game group interesting. Do they ultimately end up at the top of the group? I don't think so. I think they probably end up third because I think Nigeria gets a better result against Guinea-Bissau, and Ivory and Cote d'Ivoire, they will be a little bit more desperate to make sure, though it seems as if one team is already eliminated. Guinea-Bissau seems eliminated, but still playing for pride, I think is something that you have to keep in mind when they get in here. But Equatorial Guinea, I think they are really showing themselves well. I said this in one of my clips. There are far and few minnows in this tournament, and Equatorial Guinea are showing how well they are. So I think that's where it will go. JD is just peppering the comments, and I appreciate that. So just like and subscribe. We'll get to Ghana, don't worry. Nope, Ivory Coast is winning that last game, and that's what I would say, JD. I think Ivory Coast wins their last game, and then Nigeria wins their last game. So I think Equatorial Guinea ends up in third, with Ivory Coast in second, and then Nigeria in first. Because I think the Guineas will probably falter in their last games. That's how I see it. If you guys see it differently, let me know. But that's how I'm kind of seeing it. That's how the vibe is. But this is AFCON. Anything that seems to be right in my eyes ends up being wrong. Yes, I know I got Namibia wrong, guys. So there are people who are messaging me and letting me know, which I appreciate ultimately. But we have those 2 games coming through. So again, Equatorial Guinea and Nigeria proving as victors, which now puts them in a good spot to where they can play and where they can end up. And just kind of give you guys a little of a concept of what they'll be playing for in their third game. We see the Group A teams here. Group A first, second, and third. So Group A first is playing the runner-up of Group C, which is a little bit of an easier group. And then that's a runner-up. And then Group A winners are playing the third place group of either Group C, D, or E, which means they're both going to go on different sides of the bracket. But the runner-up of Group C, just to give you guys some context who that is, that's this group here. So the runner-up playing the winner of this group, that's either Cameroon, Senegal, or Guinea. I think that is something that you want to avoid in terms of Group A. So I think winning Group A will be very much important because then you get the runner-up of Group either the third place team of C, D, or E. So winning Group A is going to be vital because worst case, you're probably either playing Cameroon, Guinea, or if we're really looking worst place scenario, a team like Senegal. So topping Group A is very important. Teams will have something to play for here. And I think ultimately, Nigeria may end up taking it, though my original pick was Cote d'Ivoire. It's not impossible, but I think Nigeria gets it done because I think Guinea-Bissau is the easier of the matchups between Equatorial Guinea and Cote d'Ivoire. But you guys let me know. I do agree with this. Teams in the last game might do some madness based on the matchups. This is AFCON. Just because you play a third place team, yes, you avoid a clear better team. But some of these, I think we're going to get some interesting third place teams going into this. So nothing is guaranteed. The only thing that's guaranteed is win your matches and then secure your seating that way and move forward. I mean, because we talked about it already. Second place for Group A, they're playing the Group C, D, or E second place, which means, again, it could be right now, it could be Guinea, it could be Algeria, or it could be Tunisia, right? That's the runners up. No, that's the first place team. So that's not even an easier matchup when you're looking at it. So I think ultimately win your games and then from there progress. And then after that, that's all you can really do in terms of controlling your destiny here. You're reaching the point where if teams try to be a little bit too cute with it, trying to find ways, but then also you have to consider rest. You have to consider yellow cards, all those aspects. So I think just win your games get advance and then play who's next. Don't try to avoid teams because when you try to play the system plays you. So I think when it comes to these teams, just go in and play their games, and then we'll go from there. The It feels like we're running through these games without really trying to, but the third game of the day, uh, I have thoughts about this game. So many thoughts about this game. But third game of the day, we saw Ghana drawing with Egypt by the score of 2-2. And it was an interesting game. I think the one of the big headlines, if there's two big headlines for me, I'll go three big headlines for this game. First big headline is Mo Salah's injured and speedy recovery to the Liverpool man. I think it's unfortunate when you lose a player, especially at this high of a level. It really does unfortunately bring a negative light to this because then people are saying, well, why do we want to lose a player playing in another tournament? And again, it doesn't matter if he had injured himself playing in his club, it wouldn't matter one side or the other. But you know those conversations, and you know those whispers and those rumblings are going to start to come in. So I think it's unfortunate, but I think that might be the big story of the tournament of that game. The second story, the second headline I would say would be Kudus. Apparently, he is everything that Ghana needs, and I say this facetiously because Mohamed Kudus provided everything offensively in terms of scoring for Ghana, and this is a whole other conversation I'll get into later. But Kudus is the second one. But thirdly, I think if there's a third conversation when it comes to it, that's true. Yeah, and that's going to be the annoying thing. People are going to pull up that clip, Jason, all the time. They're going to pull up that clip all the time. You know, Klopp saying, "Well, there's a little tournament coming up," and everyone's going to pull up that clip. But the third thing for this is it's a missed opportunity for Ghana. Simply put, this is a missed opportunity for Ghana. City winning the league now. JD, I know. I just want to remind you again. This is the AFCON recap show. If we want to talk to Prem, we have the podcast for that, and we will do that. But I think ultimately, when we look at how Ghana played, so this game ends up 2-2. Kudus with 2 goals, and then it's just so many. I'm gonna try to remove the objective hat and put on the Ghana hat right now and just say, actually, I'm good, guys. Hold on one second. I'll be right back. All right, let's talk to this like a Ghanaian here. What is wrong with this team? Yes, it is. It is connected. I do agree. But I'm showing the bias here. Putting on the Ghana hat, and we're going to talk about this game. What the beauty and problem with this game is for Ghana is Salah goes down at the end of the first half. Kudus immediately scores. And I think to myself, okay, this could be interesting. They've done nothing in this game. They don't deserve this lead, but they have it. What can they do with it? They hold it until the second half. Then ultimately, then you reach the point of the game where you can see the next goal. The next goal comes in, I think, the 71st or so minute as we pull up the lovely levels of it here. No, 69th minute. Marmoush scores in the 69th minute. Kudus enters back in the 71st minute. Mustafa Mohammed, who opened the scoring for Egypt at AFCON, scores in the 74th minute. And then it stays 2-2 for the remainder of the game. And there's so much in this game, which is, I think, emblematic and problematic with how Ghana has played, not only in this tournament, but throughout their last couple years. Right? 11 shots versus 6, that's fine. 5 versus 3, that's fine. 58 versus 42 versus an Egypt team. I think that's a bit problematic. I would have preferred to see at halftime, this was more 55-45. As the game went on, it was more, you saw the possession tilt more towards Egypt. More passes, fouls. It's when you look at possession, you can read possession in one of two ways. Either you have the ball and you're being um, creative with it, or you're waiting for something to come through, or you're looking at possession and saying you're really dictating the flow of the game and you're able to do what you want to do. And the one concern I have with Ghana as they move through is I don't know if they can create. It is. I said this in a Discord for anyone's there. Kudus apparently can do no wrong, but the rest of this team is flying desperately for a draw, and you needed at least a point, so they got a point. They're not out of it. They're not dead. But the problem is a win would have definitely helped them a lot more. And you drew a team that played without Mo Salah for 45 minutes. To me, that's a missed opportunity. You can't waste those types of opportunities. A Fourier goal. I look. I don't want to say how I really feel, but I'll say it this way: a Fourier in goal is a goalkeeper who can stop the ball at times, but in terms of your build up, doesn't help support it. So even just sending long balls into the game, it doesn't have there's nothing accurate. The amount of times I saw him send a ball off of a goal kick and then the ball was coming right back directly. Now, yes, that's a question in terms of winning the balls off of those set pieces and those type of entries. But that also means distribution, understanding that, and that is something that this goalkeeper has never been good at. This goalkeeper can stop the ball, but in terms of playing maybe a more modern game, they aren't able to do that. And that is a problem, especially when you're seeing when they need. You saw it many times where Jiku gets the ball, tries to play it out. There's nothing there. Instead of being able to, soak out the pressure a little bit because you can't play back to your goalkeeper. Now you have to continue to push the ball up, but then there's no movement going with it. There's no space that you can not. The game then becomes so much more condensed within the midfield. And Ghana has struggled to do anything really in the midfield for a long period of time. Ashimeru being a good standout from that. And yes, I know they're not playing with Thomas Partey, but Ghana missed an opportunity in this game. And Egypt, you tell Egypt, look, we will lose Salah, but then we'll draw the game. Egypt will take that. I think the frustrating thing for me is that Egypt did this while trailing twice, and they were able to still come back and get this game. So I think from a Ghanaian perspective, this is a bit of a waste. It's a wasted opportunity from that standpoint because they really could have done more with that matchup, and that disappoints me a little bit. And we'll see kind of how it goes through. And yes, Juras, I went for the hats. It just came to me. Honestly, it just came to me. I didn't think about it too much. I just said, I'll go through it. And ultimately, this is the point when it comes to Egypt versus Ghana in this game. The other attacker stepped up for Egypt. There's no doubt. Mohamed stepped up for Egypt. Marmoush stepped up for Egypt. They're able to create those results. And for Ghana, it was just, let's give the ball to this play. It is extremely interesting when I look at Ghana. I realize that sometimes they echo the teams that I consume the most, especially the national teams. And it bothers me. It bothers me that I'll watch. It does bother me that I'll watch Ghana and say, man, okay, I'll get something different. And I'll feel like I'm just watching Canada in a different kit, or I'm just watching this other team in a different kit. So it's interesting from that standpoint. But where Egypt's attacker stepped up, we didn't see that same ability really from that front line. And the question that I always have for Ghana right now for the last little bit is there someone who can create ideas, not just someone who can create something out of nothing? Maybe I'm the curse. Maybe, or in the words of Taylor Swift, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. Look, I think where other teams can create other ideas, when it comes to Ghana, it feels as if Kudus is the idea. That's all we can do. And that's problematic. They haven't been able to find other players who can create. I will always point to that midfield ultimately. And I think that's where it is. There's so many questions here. Let's go for this. Do I make the, what do you make of the, Bukhari should have come in for, in my opinion, Bukhari should have come in for Jordan Ayew in the 60th minute. Jordan Ayew is a 60-minute player, especially at the national team level. And when he's not, and sometimes it should be a 45-minute player. Yes, he was winning fouls. Yes, he's there for what, his defensive rates. But I'm not trying to defend here. I'm trying to secure a win. And Jordan doesn't help do that. And that's where, when you look at the team, I made this comment at the World Cup for Ghana. There are certain lineups that I like, and there are other lineups I don't like. The problem with Ghana playing a 4-4-2 effectively, or a 4-2-3-1, which morphed into a 4-4-2, is who are the distributors on this team, right? Who are the players who are going to send the ball in? You're playing two strikers out wide, effectively, with Iñaki, and then switching over with Antoine Semenyo. So those two swapping, they're both strikers. Yes, they can produce a final ball. Yes, they can do a final pass into the box, but they are strikers by trade. Jordan Ayew is a striker by trade who's now out wide. Kudus is a cam, but he's more of a modern cam, which is basically an additional striker. So that's 4 of your attacking players are strikers. Bukhari can play that striker role, but at least on the pace, he offers more. And I think this is where even Ernest Nwamwa is a good young striker, but is a young striker who is really more of a wing forward than an actual winger. So you have your front attack who are all effectively all having eyes for goal, but don't always have their eyes for their players. So I think you have to bounce that a little bit better. And this is where I think you should have. I think this is where managing the players and the talent you have is something that Houghton hasn't done well for Ghana. And I think that's what is holding them back. They have talented players on their bench, but it's when do you turn to them? When do you go to them? It's a little bit, I think from a fan standpoint, it's not from lack of talent. I think it's deployment and movement. I still think for Ghana to be successful, a back three allows them to add more players who can push up. Because if they're relying on their fullbacks to push forward, if they're defending all the time, I don't know if that helps. I think Ghana has the center backs too. They have the center backs to do that. And if they need to add another player into the midfield, you have Salisu, you have Daniel Amarte, and worst case scenario, you have an Alexander Jiku that you go. I think a back three would suit them better because then their fullbacks or wingbacks can be more engaged in the attack, and that allows a little bit more for what they want to do. I would switch Iñaki and Semenyo on the formation. I would agree too. I mean, the lineups looked more a little bit like this is how they had it set up, which I don't mind Iñaki out wide because if you're going to try to use his pace, that is fine. What I would have done is definitely at the 60th minute, this would have been Bukhari. I would have switched that immediately and gone for that because I feel like you needed more pace. And if you had more pace, then maybe that releases a little bit more for Gideon Mensah. Mensah can't bomb forward because Jordan Ayew doesn't have the pace to go out wide, right? And I think that's where it's a little bit puzzling that they keep going. Yes, he's still playing. He's a solid average. He's a solid Premier League winger is Jordan Ayew. That's what he is. He's a solid winger. But I think you have to look at what you're trying to do with your team. And I think when the ball goes to that side, and I do agree with this too, Jason. I think I trust him more as in his instinct in the ball, in that aspect into the box. So I think that's the question where it is. JD had this question. I want to get to it, but we'll get to this here. I think it's not impossible, but it's getting late really early for this team. Do I see Ghana qualifying for the next round? It's getting very late, very early for them. The thing I would say is this. Where are they? What does Mozambique look like against Cape Verde? If Cape Verde all of a sudden looks less of a part and then Mozambique comes out and beats them, I trust Team Chaos. Who knows? But based on how Ghana has played, Ghana's ideas are Inyaki. I mean, I'm sorry, are Kudus. Anything creative is Kudus. It just feels as if they are waiting for the ball to reach Kudus and hoping for a moment of brilliance. And that is a little bit tough to, that's not sustainable. That is not sustainable at the very least. And so what that leaves you with is just a lot of lack of chances and opportunities. Because if you look at the group and where they're set up, now you're looking at where Ghana is. So right now, Ghana is sitting in third or fourth, perhaps. No, they're sitting in fourth in their group because a goal differential, and they would need Cape Verde to win. In Ghana's best interest is Cape Verde to truly beat and batter Mozambique. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it'll be a closer game, but I think Ghana's best case scenario is Cape Verde beats Mozambique, and that way you get past them on goal difference just a little bit. And then you have Egypt. So then the groups become Cape Verde, Egypt, and then Ghana. So that way, when you play Mozambique, you say, okay, they beat them. Therefore, we need to come and we need to obliterate them. I don't think it's going to be that outbalanced in terms of a score. Right now, if you ask me today, is Ghana going to make it out of the group? And I had to give you an answer today, I'd say no. I would just say no because there's nothing consistent about this team other than let the ball reach Kudus and then something brilliant happens. And I think it's part coaching, it's part players, it's part everything. So does Ghana make it out of this group today? How after what they look like here? I'll say no. Because Mozambique should have beaten Egypt. Ghana should have beaten Egypt, playing worse. Mozambique played better and were outdone by a penalty in the final minute. Ghana didn't play as well, but had a chance to win. Based off their one commonality is the Egypt game, and Mozambique looks much better than Ghana did. So if you ask me right now, I don't think Ghana makes it, which means the tradition of Ghana getting rid of their coach after AFCON continues for another cycle. It's a tradition, apparently. It's a tradition. But guys, you let me know in the comments. We've seen those three teams. The three games go through. You let me know where it is. So you know already we have Mozambique versus Cape Verde tomorrow. I think that is the early game that's happening. That'll be a very interesting game. Again, like I said, how that game goes will either build slightly my confidence for Ghana making it out of the group or just confirm that they will not get out of the group. Then we have Group C, which directly affects Group A. You have Senegal, Cameroon, and then Guinea, and then the Gambia. I think for Guinea and the Gambia has a chance to really respond and show a little bit more fight. But right now, I think Guinea is the second best team in this group. And because of that, I think I lean towards them in terms of their ability to get a result versus the Gambia. And then Senegal versus Cameroon. I think Senegal is the class of this group. I think Senegal should go 9-up on this group. So 9 points, not 3-0 for everyone, but I think they should go 9 points for this group. And I think this may be their toughest game, and they'll still maybe win it 2-0, slightly uncomfortably, but they'll still win. But guys, so we have the 3 games coming up tomorrow. Let me know what your predictions are in the comments, and then let's do some Q&A to wrap this up here. So Cape Verde, Mozambique, guys, let me know, how are you feeling? This isn't reverse psychology, Jason. I am not confident in this team. I am not. Right? It's just because they haven't been able to put it together for it. All their games, if you watch their games for qualifiers, they've been struggles. They've been a lot of chances missed, and then 80th minute goal, 87th minute goal. Realistic. If you remember yesterday, the prediction was if Ghana wins this game, it's going to be an 80th minute goal. What's more realistic is probably a high scoring draw. So I'm going with a high scoring draw, and I did say 2-2. I don't wear the crown because I don't need it, nor do I want it. Um, I don't trust Ghana hasn't played 3 good matches in a row. So that's where I'm concerned with how they are. Ghana to get 4 points. Let me see them against Mozambique. It's not impossible, but let me see them against Mozambique. And let me see Mozambique versus Cape Verde tomorrow, and then we'll talk about if it's definitely a 4 points for Ghana or not. Yeah, I saw that. I did see that. I thought about going 3, but I don't know how Ghana finds 3 goals in that game. Let alone perhaps in a let alone perhaps in a whole cycle of games. But we've seen that. So Nigeria, I think it looks good moving forward. Equatorial Guinea, good surprise coming through. But guys, the game's coming up tomorrow. Cape Verde versus Mozambique. I know we got a few of us here. Let me hear some predictions for Cape Verde versus Mozambique. If it goes so I think it'll go, I think it depends. The question for me is if Egypt's the common denominator. If Egypt's the common denominator, Mozambique look better against Egypt. And so they should look better against Cape Verde. So if I use that logic, I'd say Mozambique maybe gets this 1-0, but Cape Verde is my dark horse side. I can't really go against my dark horse side. Well, I can. Emotionally, I shall. So I see this game, Cape Verde versus Mozambique. I see that ending. I'll go 2-1 for Cape Verde. Jason's going 2-1 for Mozambique, which I can go. It's 2-1 either way, but I think I'm going to go with Cape Verde going 2-1 up because now both these teams come in with confidence. Mozambique may be outdone by the refs, even though it was a foul. Sucks for them. But Cape Verde got the win, so I think they'll come into that game thinking maybe we can get this result. So I think Cape Verde does it 2-1. Jason says Mozambique wins it 2-1. So I am fine with that result as it is. When you go to Cameroon versus Senegal, which is game 2 of the day, where are you going? I think that's, like I said, I think it's 2-0 Senegal. I think Senegal is. I don't think Cameroon was fortunate. That red card, which was very harsh again, but with VAR, everything looks like it's intentional. If that red card doesn't happen, Cameroon is sitting on 0 points. I don't think they deserved the 1-1 draw. So I think Senegal gets it done 2-0. Jason hitting me with a 2-1 for Cameroon. Okay. Cape Verde also winning 2-1. I see you, JD. That's good. That's good. All right. And then the third game of the day coming up tomorrow, we have Guinea versus the Gambia. I think Guinea is the second best team in this group. And I love Gambia. Gambia is a team that will continue to get better. But I think in this tournament, for what we've seen from them, I think Guinea takes this. Will I be surprised if Gambia wins this? No. But I'm giving this to Guinea, and I'm gonna go a more high scoring, interesting affair. But I'm gonna go 3-2 for Guinea over the Gambia. I think there's definitely quality on the other side, but I think that is fine. That is fine. We see that. So I'm gonna go with the Gambia 3-2. Let's see what these predictions we have coming up. Cape Verde losing 2-1. That makes sense. Cameroon losing to Senegal. So Senegal 2, Cameroon 1. JD coming from the WeMax is saying Cape Verde wins 2-1. Senegal wins 2-1. And Gambia all the way. Okay, that's fair. Well, Mohammed appreciates you, JD. He does. And then we have Guinea going a 2-2 draw to Gambia. I think Gambia can get this result. Ultimately, I think Guinea is the second best team in this group. So I think for how this is, I think those are fine results where it is. Well, here, you know what? Let's wrap this for another 10 or so minutes. Guys, what have we enjoyed? What have we seen from this so far? What is intriguing? What is not? What are the stories of AFCON? If we had to write, what are the stories of AFCON so far that have stuck with us so far? And for me, it is simply the minnow. There are fewer and fewer minnows at AFCON. Yes, it's 24 teams, but no one has truly, really been beaten, right? No one's really shown that they don't belong there. Right? If you even look at Group A, I mean, Guinea-Bissau may be the team that has gotten the most outdone by their goals for, but Mozambique, Cape Verde, proving that they did belong there. Gambia and Guinea put up good fights. Gambia is much better than the 3-0 result they received. When we get to Group D, Angola and Algeria drawing was a surprise on paper. Burkina Faso escaping Mauritania was a bit of a surprise, but then that shows to the point. And then Tunisia falling to Namibia. South Africa is still a solid squad, but maybe this isn't their run this year. And then Tanzania, Zambia, those two sides kind of staying where they are. I feel there are fewer, if not any, minnows at this tournament. No one's going to receive a four-piece and a side. Parity is a good thing, and I do agree parity is a good thing for the level of play. But now it's just a question of, can we go through? I think the last two AFCONs, which unfortunately has been another interesting conversation, just attendance hasn't been there, and I get it. It's early in the year. But I would love to see an AFCON, and this, like, hey, I don't know what the pricing structure is there, so I'm not gonna shame people who don't want to spend their hard-earned money anywhere. We have the same conversations here for the Gold Cup, where only maybe 2 countries sell out, and then when you have a team that's starting to play well, then you get 3 countries that sell out, but then everything else is just the stadium holds 15,000, and we brought 300 people. So it's tough to really go away. I don't know what the solution is. But again, when you see the host play, we saw this with Cameroon 2 years ago as well. When the host play, you know it's sold out and it's there. I would love to see it. Maybe it's the amount, maybe it's the frequency, maybe it's not. But parity at this level certainly is up and flowing, and we love to see it. But it will definitely make AFCON World Cup qualifiers much more interesting and much more intriguing. We'll get into those conversations. We'll talk about that as we go through. Just also to give you a look at those things that you guys, if you think of anything else to ask, you have third-ranked teams right now. If you haven't been following, again, the top 4 third-ranked teams move through. So far you have Ivory Coast, the host, Cote d'Ivoire, Mozambique, Zambia, Guinea, and then Algeria are sitting outside along with Tunisia. Now that could change with a Mozambique result. If Mozambique drops their results to Cape Verde tomorrow, that team becomes Ghana, and Ghana probably moves a little bit lower down, maybe 3rd or 4th, and that changes up. And we talked about the winners again, just to kind of recap again. Group A, which is the host Ivory Coast, Nigeria, Equatorial Guinea, and Guinea-Bissau. The winner of that plays a third-place team either in C, D, or E, which means they're either playing one of these 3 teams, the best one of that. So right now they'd be playing Guinea. That is the first-place team. And then the runner-up, which right now is Nigeria. They'd be playing the runner-up of Group C. And then runner-up of Group C, as it stands right now, would be Cameroon, which would be a tasty affair. I still think if that's a matchup, Nigeria would probably take that. And then so on and so forth. You start to see that Group C, their winners, the Group C winner, which we haven't talked about yet, which will be playing the third place of Group A, B, or F. So Group C, which would be in this section of it, they'd be playing Group A, C, or F. So they'd be playing either Ivory Coast, Zambia, or Guinea, depending on where it is. But in this case, they'd be there. So they'd be playing Zambia or Cote d'Ivoire. I think a Zambia match will be a lot more favorable for them as it goes. So those are things to kind of start to keep your eye on, to keep following as things continue to progress throughout the tournament. It's been a fun tournament. AFCON is always the continental tournament of chaos, and I always appreciate that. I look forward to that. But that's where it is, guys. So with that, we're just going to wrap up here. Appreciate everyone for stopping by. We may have another live coming up tomorrow to recap, so keep your eyes out for that. But instead, make sure you guys are watching the games. Make sure you guys are keeping flow of it. Find me in the Discord. Find me on Twitter Africans there, and we'll go from there. So this has been a question from the Africans saying, appreciate everyone here. Thanks for stopping by. Let me know on the rewatch what you think of the 3 games here. Which teams have surprised you? Which teams are really outperforming themselves? And until next time, guys, thank you again, and bye-bye for now.